All right, so today I have a very interesting guest today with me. If you want to take a few moments to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Jody. My artist name is Arlo Wallace. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm an indie artist currently in college, so that's
Hmm.
fun. So most of my time is spent either doing school stuff and life versus like making music on the side. So
You know what's really funny about this? Like you introduce yourself, and it's kind of like the ideal indie artist music dream that everyone envisions when they think about indie music to hear exactly someone's living that life. Very interesting. We met back around a couple months back. We'll just say, would you? I'll say it's probably summer is when I contacted you the first time, right?
March or April
Wow.
was
Sorry.
the
Oh,
first time.
it's even earlier than that. Yeah. So definitely wow.
Yeah,
So I remember like
exactly.
when I reached out to you, I was kind of like, "Hey, would you be interested in my services or whatever?" I remember I reached out
Right.
to you, and in the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh, I listened to the songs. It really hit with me. That's why I reached out to you in the first place." So I remember that vivid moment, and I wasn't really expecting too much because just with how you reach out to people the first time is almost like cold. You don't really expect too much,
Yeah.
but it's kind of nice that you responded though. So I was just kind of curious when you first received my message, like how did you perceive that? It's a good way
let me
actually
let
to
me
describe
let
this.
me mix your stuff for like
Yeah,
five
yeah,
hundred bucks real
yeah,
quick.
yeah. Like scam you, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
come
Like,
now to
whoa.
subscribe or join me. Oh,
I will admit, it's kind of funny you mentioned that because I was kind of skeptical at first. I was like, who is this guy? Because like, I remember putting the EP like up on like Bandcamp and stuff, and like I
mm-hmm.
just had my little like niche group of musicians that like we all
Yes.
listen to our each other's
Mm-hmm.
stuff on YouTube and all
Mm-hmm.
that. And I was like, all right, guys, I worked really hard on this EP thing. I've
Mm-hmm.
never made music before, so this is really big. And I like hit upload, and then I got like 15 listens in like a week.
That's
But I was
really
still really
good.
proud of it.
Hey, you
Yeah,
know
and
what?
then
Like something I just want to mention is definitely you should feel a little bit of pride. I know like I'm not saying like egotistic, but I'm just saying in terms of, like just feel proud because not a lot of people release their music and are comfortable. It's almost like they're afraid to release it because they're afraid of actual judgment or like, oh, maybe this is not perfect enough. And I'm just very glad you actually just went with it. Like
oh yeah,
considering like you're completely brand new to this.
for sure. It's definitely like a scary experience, I think, because you're doing something for the first time, and then if
Hmm.
you mix that with like you made, like it came from you, so the
Hmm.
lyrics have like meaning and
Yeah.
like it's like your baby, so you don't want to like put it out into the world and then someone just completely craps on it, and you're like, oh,
Hey, you know
great.
what? I'm so proud you actually did do that. Like, I'm just happy to hear you actually did that for yourself. And I'm even more surprised that you were even nice enough to respond. It's very sincere, like when you first emailed me.
Yeah,
So I was
it
very,
seemed legit.
yeah, no,
It seemed
honestly,
legit. I was like,
I'm glad you actually took it as a real thing, not as a spam. We hooked
yeah,
up, we emailed each other back and forth. We actually had our first meeting back in March as well, March and April. And then
yeah,
like over time, I think this is like over time we were actually meeting consistently and then we were interested in some of the things I had to offer as well. So then I want to kind of
sweet.
hope that you can share your experience as a starting solo artist, career,
Yeah,
business, entrepreneur. So a lot of people really don't understand that when you're starting a solo career, especially in the arts, it's actually kind of like you're also an entrepreneur as well. You are doing something that's not conventional, right? This isn't a standard 9 to 5 job, right? What I kind of consider to be a conventional standard 9 to 5 job is if you're a session musician. Like, are you
yeah.
familiar with that term at all? Session musician?
Oh yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
grew up like playing music and played in like a lot of different ensembles. So
yeah,
I actually got to record in a studio back
amazing.
in the
Yeah,
day. So that was fun.
even better, even greater.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'll classify that as a 9 to 5 typical job, session musician, or like engineers that work from a standard time, like 9 to 9 or 9 to 11. Doesn't matter what the time frame is. But if you're kind of confined to a timeline and you have to be at a place to do the work, that's kind of what I consider to be a standard job. You're working for yourself and you're building something for yourself.
Yeah,
So that's actually where I'm like, no, a lot of musicians and artists don't understand that it's really like you're like multiple identities at this point.
yeah, for sure. It becomes a little. I remember like in the very beginning when I was just like my goal was just to make a collective project, and
Yeah.
I'm just slowly losing it, just a little bit every day, and
Yeah.
being like, oh my gosh, there's so much to think about, and it's like a lack of structure. Like when you're talking about with the like 9 to 5, you need to do within
Mhm.
just those hours in the day. But
Yeah.
when you're just like doing something like this for yourself, it's almost like there is no like you have
There's
to
no
make a structure.
yeah.
Like you have to
There's
make a
really no
system for
bar.
yourself that works.
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
you are correct. And that's kind of where I'm like, you are an entrepreneur, you are a solo artist, you're a creator because
Yeah.
you can work only for 2 hours, or you can work for the whole day, or you can work
Right.
for a straight week and then you don't have to work the next week. It's because that's kind of how your business and your career, solo career is so different from your traditional job. That's kind of how it works for like entrepreneurs and solo artists is that people aren't aware of. They're just thinking, oh hey yeah, we only see the success,
Yeah.
like oh yeah, we had that one song and you made millions of views or billions of
Right.
views, doesn't matter, and then it's like oh yeah, it's a single hit, amazing. But a lot of people don't actually know that there's so much more, like there's more failures than actually one good success. So it's like
For sure.
it's really sad that people can only just see, they get jealous or envious of you only because of that one success. But it's like, no, I had to work off time. You don't have to see I had to cry through my pillow. Like you don't have to see me like put my face in my pillow and cry. Like you don't see that.
Right.
You don't see me being stressed or like just wanting to quit. You don't see that. It's not like you have a video camera like
Yeah.
filming yourself doing your day-to-day life, right? So
Right.
it's just like I really want to kind of showcase that hopefully with this interview with you and just to people to know like this is not easy to do. It really
For
isn't.
sure.
Even for myself, sometimes I doubt like where, even for my own music career and business, like where will it go? Where will it be today, tomorrow? Can I continue this? Every day is actually kind of a struggle. The hard times is going to be more often and harder to get out of before you actually reach into something where you can kind of see like the light at the very end of the tunnel. Now that we get all that business fun stuff and the purpose of this video, out the way, kind of want you to share more about yourself, Jody, kind of like your history with music. Start from the very beginning, however you want to approach this. I would like you to share kind of more about yourself and where
Cool.
where music, like, where music came from, like were you like, growing up listening to music, what inspired you, what pushed you to be the current Arlo Wallace that you are.
It's so weird because like I feel like I have to go all the way back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been like I was definitely a very like emotional kid growing up. So
Mhm.
I was always like a fan of the art,
Mhm.
like watching people do theater and like listening to a lot of different genres of music. My parents are like polar opposites when it comes to their taste in music. And like
Mhm.
same with my, siblings as well. So I feel like I got to listen to a bunch of, stuff from like different cultures, different
Mm.
genres, all that good stuff. I started playing piano, like classical, at the age of 7, and that kind of
Wow.
like really started everything off for me. Where I was like, okay, this is awesome, like rad. I can just do this for hours and like
In
not
the piano.
want to stop doing this.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like I kept doing that for years. At some point, I did like quit piano just because I wasn't feeling it anymore. And I've recently kind of resparked that joy in playing it, but throughout like middle school and high school, I joined, band ensembles, everything from jazz band, pep band, marching band,
Oh,
all
wow.
the things. Yeah.
So you've
So
been
that was
very
like,
musically kind of inclined, like from the very beginning, right? Like you started with piano, and then you worked
for
your way
sure.
up through a school band. You know,
Yeah,
let
for
me tell
sure.
you a
It
little quick
was,
story. Sorry
go
for
for
interrupting you, but my piano
it.
career lasted for 2 hours. I took a piano lesson
Oh
and I
no.
hated it, and then it
No.
just dropped. So I'm glad you pursue
Yeah.
you continue on with that. That's good to hear. But yeah, sorry. Please,
Hey.
please feel free to continue.
I know that's all good. Yeah, piano is it's a very love hate. It can be like the most beautiful thing ever, and then sometimes it's just a pain. But I totally get that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I realized that like music was kind of my way to express myself a lot of the time when I
Hmm.
wasn't doing there were like other artistic ways that I would express myself. Like I was really into filmmaking and writing as I got older in high school. So I was like also a part of that, and I got into actual art, so like painting
Hmm.
and things like that. But for some reason like music was just one of those things that I could not go without. Like I had to do it every semester to like
Hmm.
keep my mind
Yeah.
sane.
Yeah.
And I would never like write my own things though. Like I'm not sure
Mhm.
why, but like I would have people ask like, okay, so you play like all these instruments, like do you write your own music? And I'd be like, no, 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 like I'm a player, I'm not a writer. And I just kind of
Yeah.
had that notion about myself for like a really
Yeah.
long time, like that idea about myself for
Yeah.
years.
You know what's very interesting, Jody, is that a lot of people, when they think about when they see people perform music on an instrument or sing or whatever the case may be, they always assume that you have a original song or two. But then, really
Yeah.
interestingly enough, I find most people that play instruments, they mostly just want to just get good at their instrument versus
Yeah.
like thinking about like, oh, I want to be, Eric Clapton, for example, necessarily mean that you are a artist. You're actually just more of
Right.
a musician. So a lot of
Yeah.
people really kind of mix terms a lot. That's what I kind of find.
Yeah, for sure. Like all I
Mhm.
knew was I'm like, dude, this learning new instruments thing excites me, so I'm just gonna stick with it.
Yeah.
And like I still have a goal to just like play as many instruments as possible. So like that's still ongoing.
Is it still
But
ongoing? It
yeah,
really
it's
still is?
still ongoing. It's
Oh,
still
that's
ongoing. I want
great.
to like learn a bunch of instruments just because like they make me happy. And
Yeah.
I
It's
think it was when quarantine hit, and, like the
mhm.
world ended for, a hot minute. And I was just kind of stuck in my room. And I realized that I'd had my last semester of like concert band. So I was like, oh, wow, like that's a thing that I'm not going to do anymore. I mean, who knows in the
That's
future, but like
bizarre.
right
Yeah.
now I was like, oh, wow, like what do I do now? And I was like, I have all this free time. So I bought
Mhm.
myself a guitar. Like I
Wow.
was like, okay, I've always wanted to
Just
learn
straight
how to
up.
play guitar. Yeah, straight up. I was like, whatever, like we can do whatever now. We have like well, I thought we had 2 months, but apparently we had like
The whole year.
365 days.
Yeah, we have so much time, right? Who would have thought like, oh, this will be
Yeah,
fine, right? Ends up being almost like 2, 3 years at this point. So it's like, nah.
right. I was like, okay, well, I have 2 months to like learn this instrument and like let's
Mhm.
just do that and see where it goes. And I pick it up and I remember like when I held the guitar for the first time and my sister helped me pick it out because she's really good at helping me out with that kind of stuff. And it felt very kind of like natural in a way. And
Okay.
like I would try to like strum anything, even though it sounded like complete crap at first. And I was trying to just figure out how to like get it to make sounds. But once I figured out how to get it to make sounds, I like started humming along to it without realizing it. So
That's
like I
great.
suddenly started to like come up with like little tunes and it helped me learn how to play the guitar better. And
Oh
that's when I
yeah.
was like, oh, maybe I can like make a little jingle with this or something like that. Get a little creative, get a little spicy, venture out.
No, that's great. I'm glad, like, so far
Yeah,
just hearing this is such a fun journey for you. Like, especially picking up an
yeah,
instrument. A lot of musicians that I look up to that are good guitar players or whatnot, and they write their own music, stuff like that. Most of them don't really have music theory background. They don't know what that is.
yeah,
It does not exist. But what they have is a very fine, good ears to
yeah,
hear the music. And that's actually the one of the key secrets to good actual guitar playing and guitar like
sure.
music making. It really comes from a good ear. It's more so like if you have a good ear, you can really do a lot more things, I find, in general.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to elaborate that, but it's very amazing
yeah.
how you just picked up a guitar. That sounds like the most every guitar startup thing possible. Like
Yeah.
starting musician, like Jimi Hendrix and all those people's like, oh, some
Oh,
people hated
interesting.
guitar first and then they picked it up later and they're like, oh, I like it now.
Right.
And it's great to hear that you have such a very deep music introduction for yourself. Like you're just surrounding yourself with music from a non-music family.
Yeah, I know that's strange too. Yeah, like no one else in my family really plays music like that except like one of my siblings, and she's kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, and then like comes
Oh,
back to it every other month or so, and
just whenever she or whenever
yeah,
they feel like it,
whenever
right?
yeah, whenever they feel like it, everyone's kind of artistic in their own ways.
Always, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
kind of like your. I'll say I'm kind of like your sibling too. Like,
yeah,
I'm also very like, oh, I feel like it, or I don't feel
yeah,
like it. And actually, most of the time, it feels like I have to do force myself. Trick. I have to trick myself to be like, all
yeah.
right, I want to really practice, but I'm lazy. So what do we do? So you tell yourself, all right, I'm just gonna practice for 10 minutes, and then it ends up being like an hour easily. So I have to
Yeah,
trick myself, which is kind of it sucks. I'll say it really sucks. I wish I'm more like I could just do it.
yeah. I
But I'm
mean,
always the type of person that's like, there's a blockage, had to bypass it, like had to type in a little cheat code, open the door, and then go in.
yeah, I'm definitely like that with certain things too. Like music is just the weird thing I nerd about, but like nerd out
Oh, that's
about. But
great. That's
yeah, for
great.
sure.
So
So
how's the like when you did your band in school, right? Like what
yeah.
instrument were you playing?
So oh boy, he started off on the good old trumpet back in sixth grade.
Oh, that is awesome. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it was okay. I wasn't that great. I won't lie. But then like
Mhm.
towards like the eighth grade, I switched into like the low brass. Played this from my like band kiddos out there. The
Mhm.
euphonium, baritone. That was my
Wow.
instrument. And then moving into high school, I kept that instrument as my main one. But then I started to like branch out into like learning like trombone, and like my band director was super cool, so he let me play jazz, like the bass trombone and jazz band. So I got to
Nice. Wow.
venture
So
out
you
with
have
those
brass.
things.
Wow, I actually didn't know you
Yeah.
also have brass some brass experience.
Oh yeah, I
Pretty
love
cool.
playing low brass. Like I had some of the best memories I had growing up, I think.
Would you actually feature one of the instruments you played in the past in your songs eventually? Like would
I've
you actually
actually
bring
thought
it
about
in?
I've thought about it. Actually, I've considered it because like sometimes I'll get like a little idea for a song in my head. I'm like, oh, it sounds so cool with that.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah, that would be
yeah.
sick.
So for
Yeah.
sure, in the future, I can definitely see that like being a thing.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And honestly, like it's nice to know that you're still kind of on the hunt. You're still kind
Yeah.
of like going towards learning more instruments, still hungry for more to be more acquainted with instruments. I think that's amazing. A lot of people just eventually have like they had it, but a lot of people end up
Yeah.
dropping it just because of like life gets in the way or they're lazy, like a little combination of everything.
Oh
But
yeah.
it's amazing to see that
For
you
sure.
still have that drive to want to still do that. Like most people kind of I'll say like just want to get good at one thing or maybe two.
Yeah.
That's about it. But that's amazing though. Keep that up. I really look forward to maybe even hearing more a natural recording from it. Maybe.
That would be cool. We could see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
For sure.
Actually, for sure, let me know when that happens. But yeah, going back to
Right.
kind of how that led up to your first EP on Bandcamp, right? Like, just let's go back to that
Yeah.
for a little bit. So now we kind of
Right.
know a little bit about your history, and like you've been keeping it up throughout, like the very start, very beginning. From
Yeah.
the start of piano, then we transitioned to, high school for you, and then now kind of to post secondary or college
Right.
for you in this case. The EP, like, was it just something you just did for
Hmm.
fun, or what were you kind of expecting with that
Mhm.
EP? Just out of curiosity.
Okay. So like quarantine and like being stuck inside for like that much time, I think. I've always been kind of like an ambivert. So like not really super introverted where like I don't want to, like I'm a little bit more like I don't want to say closed off. I like to socialize a lot, but I do need time to just recharge, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
No,
But
that
to
makes
just be
sense.
like completely closed off from everybody for like that long, I was like having a really hard time coping with it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
yeah, so when I was like doing the whole guitar thing and like realizing I could like hum along and try like coming up with little phrases and things that, I realized that it was like kind of easy for me to express myself on the
Mhm.
guitar. And like when I was like making these little songs for myself, it just like it helped
Mhm.
me a lot. Here's the cool thing: we don't know how long this quarantine thing is gonna last, so
Yeah.
maybe I can just like learn how to write songs and no one has to know about it. So I'll just make up this fake name and
Oh,
release the music kind of. Yeah, so that's where
wow.
like the name Arlo Wallace actually came from, because I was like super like when we mentioned before, like it's really intimidating, I think, to just release something out into the world, especially when you know that it might not be as good or it's your first
Yeah,
time doing it. So I was like,
absolutely.
all right, I'll just come up with like a fake name and like release things and see how it goes. And I
Hmm.
remember the very first song that I made, and I still have it. And every time I look back on it, and it's both endearing, but it pains me so hard
Oh, why
because
is that? Why is that? Why does it pain you though?
I
The
think
first creature should always have a special place.
it does. It does. It's like I held on to it for a reason, because like whenever I look back on it, I'm like, wow, I've come such a long way from, you know, not knowing how to do anything. But I remember when I made that little first song for myself and actively tried to record it, and like
Yeah.
I don't have any recording equipment at the time, so I'm just like recording things into my phone, and I'm
Hmm.
like playing the like the ukulele and like the guitar, and I'm like trying to edit it together in this awkward way that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. And it was in that moment that I realized how hard it was to make
Hmm.
music, and I was like, all right, I need to do this again to
Y-
like learn from those mistakes. And it became
yes.
like an addicting, like it was kind of addictive for me.
Yeah.
And then
Because
I was like, okay, if I can do this, then I can like make one full song kind of. And
uh
then I did that, and I was like, all right, if I can do that, then I can make another one and another one and another one, until eventually I just made a goal to like make a whole
have the
EP.
whole EP out of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember I took even a listen from it from Bandcamp, and going back to how I initially reached out to you, I came across it, and there's something that resonated with me, with the music, especially. Like it's not no
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
more so when I listen to music, I don't really judge too much on, I guess, sound quality, just because like at the end of the day, music is so subjective, right? Like some people look
Yeah.
for the fine polish, like it has to sound clean, and there are other people that's like, okay, it's more so of the art, not very the professional, clean, very tight recording, sounding quality, right? So when I
Right.
listen to it, there's just that nature of the song that I listened to. It resonated with me because it had a very homey, a very indie feel to it, and there's a depth to your voice where I was like, yeah, that's really cool. I like that. But like, yeah, when I heard yours, it's like very rare to hear very like a sort of depth to it, but it's almost like not overly too beautiful. The thing is like I really like really down to earth singing. And just
Aw.
like good vocals is great, but then down to earth is I find is a little bit more, you feel it a little bit more. You
Yeah,
connect with it a little bit more versus like
for
more
sure.
polished vocalists, singers. I find that kind of more boring nowadays. Like great vocals, it's good, but like if you throw it in like another context, you put them all together, I
Yeah.
can't even tell you the difference, honestly. Just being able to kind of envision what your music will eventually become was kind of like what pushed me even more forward to reach out to you in the first place. So I'm glad I did do that.
For sure.
And
I'm
then
glad it resonated with you,
yeah, no, it's
because I
great.
remember, yeah,
Mhm.
hours. Just at the time, like I was back at college,
Yeah.
in that weird, we're still in the middle of the,
Yeah.
pan pizza, as it is. But
Mhm.
during that weird time, I was able to come back to college, and like I had a room to myself. So I remember just days on end, just hours. Like if I
Mhm.
wasn't in class, like doing class or hanging with friends, I was just pacing around my room, trying to find lyrics, trying to just learn as much as possible. Because the
Yeah.
entire process of like making that EP was just to learn as much as possible. Like I knew there was no way that
Absolutely.
it could be perfect. I was like, let's just get her done.
No, I'm
Let's just
glad
get
that
her
you.
done.
Yeah, I'm glad you got it done. I just hearing like the level of, you can almost tell like for people that are more in tune with music and just pay attention to details like myself. You can really tell when, even though it can be like very homemade, you can tell there's a difference in terms of how much do they really care about the project. You can actually feel it out. I'm not gonna bash on any names particularly, but a lot of stuff out there I hear, same situation as you, but then there's so little attention to detail or effort or even care to their music that you can kind of tell it's almost like, yeah, they're they're also releasing music, but they're not really putting the extra steps to actually make it even good, in my opinion. I find that a lot. It's almost like, how do you pass that off? I might as well just record it with my phone and
Yeah.
just call that a song, right? It's almost like I'm not expecting perfection like
Right.
as a studio, but you can really tell when someone puts a little extra polish and care into their
Oh,
music. You can
for
really
sure. And,
tell.
and that goes for everything. Like if you craft anything, like let's say, like I don't know, like if you're a wood shop person and you're
Hmm.
making a birdhouse, and like some other guy is making a birdhouse, you're gonna be able to tell who cared about the project and like who took
Absolutely.
time to really make it the best that they possibly could.
Like you could
Yeah.
be out of pitch, but if you sing with your heart, that's what matters, right? Because out
Right.
of pitch, you can learn. You
Right.
can learn to get better. But when it comes to passion, when it comes to what you enjoy, you can't fake that. That's something that has to come out naturally, right? You can't force it in any way. It has to be
For
in you.
sure.
I feel like after our second or third meeting, that's kind of where things kind of sparked or changed more so for you. I feel
Yeah.
like our conversations kind of led you to think more so about like, hey, yeah, you know what? Maybe I do want to look beyond just that project, right? So, kind of at
Yeah.
what point did you felt like, hey, I actually want to do this more seriously, or was it something that motivated you to try to do this, or was it kind of more you have more clarity in terms of where you want to take Arlo Wallace?
At first, I remember you asking in an email, I think, like, hey, so like, what are your, like, just asking out of curiosity, like, what are your future goals and plans with this? Are you looking to just do this like for fun? Do you want this to be a
Hmm.
career? And like, I remember just thinking about it for like a day, and
Hmm.
like, I'm weird, so I was like, you know what? What if we like just went for it? You know, why not? Because I was like,
Hmm.
we've gotten this far. At least that was my mentality. I was like, okay, well, I've gotten this far, and I've like really enjoyed the process, and I feel like with a
Hmm.
little bit of guidance, I could really like make this happen.
Because
Because like music has always been one of those things that I go kind of hard in. Like I don't know why, but I just go
mhm.
like really hard in it. Like maybe that's just because I care about it, but
Well, exactly. Well, as
like
as you mentioned about, right, you can really feel, I can really feel that the music is very embedded in you, right? Like
yeah,
it's almost when you see someone that's very passionate with something, or that's something that's really truly what they love, you don't need
yeah,
to push them for them to speak. They just do it themselves. It's almost like you
right,
can't contain the joy you have and what you really appreciate from music, right? And I can really see
right.
that. And it's not a crazy fact that you think you want to go forward with this, because it is possible, right? It
For sure.
really is possible
For
with.
sure. I figured I'm like, the worst thing that happens is like you try and then you fail, but at least you have some like you've made some cool stuff.
Yeah,
And honestly, I
absolutely.
would have kept making music anyways, like regardless. So I was like,
It
if I'm
doesn't
already gonna be
change.
doing this,
Yeah, it doesn't change too much of the plan, right? It's just like it's the same
yeah,
thing. It's just like, I guess kind of your perspective was it'll be great if it worked out, but if it's not the
right,
end of the world, because you could still also do it as a
right,
side continually and still get better. So it's definitely amazing you actually went through with this. It is
yeah.
like
Why
it
not?
is it is almost like jumping off that ledge. It's not easy to
Yeah,
even do this to begin with, right? Just kind of what we shared about earlier about music, and just the path of music is not, it's not, I won't say it's frowned upon, but it's definitely very difficult. Like people don't really consider music as like, oh, it's like regarded as a like being a doctor, being a physician, an engineer, what we call reputable jobs. Like people don't really
yeah,
see how impactful music really is. Alongside those careers, they're equally important, right? There are actually people out there that actually would benefit from having some sort of guidance in terms of like just starting out their music careers. Where do you see themselves? Where do they want to build a career? Where do they want to build their business? And what kind of like impact they want to leave behind?
like I definitely have like such a great respect for like
Mhm.
other musicians who have been making music for years.
Yeah.
Because after like trying to make those few like those first couple of songs, as
Mhm.
someone who had never done it before, I realized just how difficult it really is to like put everything together. Like you're a musician, you're coming up with the lyrics, you're composing a song, and like you can't just like slap a bunch of random things together and be like, "Here's my song,
Yeah, mix and match,
please
right?
buy it."
So
Yeah,
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 that's the thing, right? Like there's so much talented musicians out there, yourself included. There's a lot of great musicians out there,
thank you.
but like at the problem I find is that a lot of people want to do something with music, but they just don't have a goal for it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that
Like
was great when like you came in and started like asking certain questions that I'd never thought of before. That's
yeah,
when I was like, okay, like there's definitely a lot that I need to learn. Like there's still like a bunch more that I am still learning, and
Absolutely.
it's a constant pursuit. But definitely having someone to help guide you like towards a certain direction, it
Hmm.
helps you like it not only speeds up the process, but I feel like you also start to like learn the craft a lot more thoroughly rather
Yes,
than just like breezing over things.
absolutely. I feel like that's very important to convey through people. It's
Yeah.
just when you're serious, like let's just say your direction is serious about music, you really need to really look at it differently compared to how you normally looked at it. Like, yes, the passion should always be there. I agree.
Yeah.
But then there is one truth. I hate to say this. I'm only going to say this for this particular interview, is that passion does not pay. It does not make you money. It does
Yeah.
not make sure that it stabilizes your career. It doesn't make you like maintain your music career. The thing is, you need to know how to utilize that passion
Right.
to get you to where you want to be.
This is something that I've been doing my entire life,
Hmm.
just for funsies, and like it still is a huge fun part of my
Hmm.
life. But then it was almost like taking that childhood passion and then being like, hey, are you willing to slap a price tag on it and call yourself a businesswoman? And it was like, whoa.
Whoa.
It really it kind of adds a little bit more weight to the situation, I think, where you start to realize like, okay, this is something that isn't just for fun, but it's also something that could like provide for me in the future. It's also something that could
Absolutely.
reach a lot more people in the future, which,
Hmm.
is the goal right now is like, this stuff, it helps me sort through things in my mind.
Hmm.
And I remember when I was posting like religiously, like every week during
Yes.
the quarantine, and a lot of people responded saying, like, oh my gosh, this is exactly how I feel. And like, I understand where you're coming from. And like,
Hmm.
just hearing comments like that was like, okay, so if it helps me sort through my stuff and it's helping these people sort through their stuff, if I do this, it won't just be for me, but it'll be like, it could like reach that kid that needs to hear that someone else understands. I think we all need that kind of connection because that's how I connect with my favorite artists. It's like when
Yes.
they say something like that one or phrase that really just like hits where I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm going through right now.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad that you're actually doing music as a full-time thing, or
Mm.
on the
I
journey
mean,
of starting this all up, right?
yeah, we're on the journey. It's all a part of the journey. It's a good
No.
time. It's there's a lot of obstacles that come into play. I feel like a lot more people should it would be cool if we could like have more musicians share like their own journeys because I think a lot of people
Absolutely.
are like, "Oh yeah, this is the story of how I made this song. I was just chilling in my room and then it came to me and then I played a few notes and here's a banger." But like that's not how mine
That's not
turned out. I
that's
remember like literally having to wake myself up sometimes, like because my family has like very weird schedules and people need to sleep during the day and during certain
yeah,
times. Like
absolutely.
I can't record sometimes. So like
Yeah.
while I'm juggling life, I'll have to like wake myself up at like 4 in the morning to record
Yep.
guitar in my
Yes.
bathroom. Like
Yes. To
it's
get that
not
reverb,
pretty.
right? Let's get that
Yeah,
reverb in.
not fun.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's not fun. It really isn't. And that's the compromise, right? A lot of people don't see the
Yeah,
these are real life struggles. You have a lot to sacrifice. A part of it is really, really real.
yeah,
And that's kind of what I want to bring to our audience and people that aren't aware of the music making scene, that it's really difficult. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifice, commitment. So
right.
there's definitely a lot that you need to build to get this kind of running, right? For those of people out there that's checking out this video, what is something you kind of want to leave behind, or and what is your goals with your music? Like, what do you want to do for yourself? What do you want to do for your music listeners or potential fans?
What I'd want you to remember about me is that I am a storyteller and we need stories. Like it may not seem like, it's like this cliche thing where everyone's like, oh, you can't make any money off of that. And
Mm-hmm.
this, which isn't true.
Which
It's
isn't
just,
true. Nope.
it's not true. But we do need stories to move forward as a society. And in order to, and this isn't just for me, but for society to move forward, you need to document your life
Yes,
and like
absolutely.
it all, yeah, everyone needs to like document some part of your life,
Hmm.
it will become like immortalized even long after you're gone. And you might
Absolutely.
think that like no one else is gonna ever find it again, but like they will, and they'll see how like all your stories kind of intertwine within one another. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Like that's just so important to me for some reason. I don't know. So I feel like if you're gonna, whether you want to make music or
mhm.
pursue another artistic career, or like whatever you want to do, document the process.
I find out a lot of people always get into someone when after they died, not
Yeah,
when they're still alive. It's sad to say, but we don't really cherish what we have or what's in the present. We only just thinking about like ourselves or look towards like what am I
yeah,
eating today. But like honestly, I feel like just having your music out there can still impact people that are aware of like that are more closer to you, where they understand that life is short, and they
yeah,
understand that you should enjoy the present, not just the future, but the
for
present,
sure.
and just really not neglect the people around them and who they follow in terms of like the music, the style, and just really keeping it alive because like at the end of the day, it's the nostalgia, the memories that keep things alive.
The goal really isn't get to like the top 40s Billboard for me. Like if that were to happen, that'd be awesome. But that's not really like my life goal.
Hmm.
Um, let's just say that I stay like very niche and I'm
Hmm.
just able to like really hone in on like a small community, and like I would be totally satisfied and like fulfilled with that.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think I want to be remembered as like this huge person. I think I just want to be more so remembered as like a regular person who
Absolutely.
used their music to like use it like a time capsule.
So that's amazing. I'm actually really happy to hear that. That's kind of your legacy and that's kind of what you leave behind. Not everyone needs to be top 40s. What I really hope this video can come across to people that are like in your same situation or similar to you is that you can find success in what you're doing. It might not be exactly what you want. Like, let's just say Arlo Wallace might not even be what's going to happen in 10 years, but it could be something that's featured in films, indie
Yeah.
films. It could be featured.
Hey.
People can come across your music and use it on YouTube. I know this may not be very the ideal vision or the where you want that music to be, but people are still using your music, and that's where I want to leave behind a little nugget for not only just you, but for other musicians out there. Is that maybe sure your music might not stick the same way it did for Kanye West, or Drake or Kendrick Lamar, all those top dogs or in the top 40 era. You can still leave an impact because your music, people are still using it and in a way like still keeping it alive. Going back to what you said about creating your music career and just being able to build a niche market, that's very doable, very possible. And it's just knowing how to set up your goals, right? Like
Yeah.
where do you start, right? Just because of like, as beautiful as the internet is, like there's just so many information out there that it almost doesn't really guideline or structure your goals or what you want to
Hey.
accomplish with your music, right? So, is there anything you want to shout out to, let people know? Is there any closing words?
First off, I would just like to say thank you so much, Derek, for first off like reaching out in the very beginning of the journey. It's like
Mhm.
where we are now. I've grown so much like during our mentoring sessions, and I just want to
Absolutely.
like emphasize on how important it is to find a mentor and like find someone who is more knowledgeable in what you want to get better at and improve at. Like it
Hmm.
just makes all the difference, because I mean you can do it all by yourself, but you're
Hmm.
gonna take like 10 times longer to get to where you want to get to.
I know. If I
You
didn't have
know,
like half the knowledge or like just knowing certain things, like how to bypass certain things, like I feel like I would be like the same person I
yeah,
was, just stuck in a limbo. But yeah, no,
yeah,
definitely as you said, I'm really happy for you to actually even bring that up. To know that my at least my mentoring session does do something, right?
yeah, yeah. So just a big thank you
Mhm.
for anyone out there who's like interested in doing this music thing because you're a little crazy.
Like you.
You know, yeah. Find a mentor. I mean, I will.
So for those of you out
Yeah,
there, definitely just reinforcing what Jody just brought up. Definitely check her out. Please have a YouTube channel. Put your music on there so we can find you out easier. Or even like,
for sure.
maybe, just maybe, you can put more posts on your social media accounts?
Things are happening behind the scenes. That's all I have
Yeah.
to say. Just keep
So
a lookout. It's
definitely,
happening.
absolutely. So definitely check Jody out. What's a good place to actually come in contact with you for the time being?
Okay, so right now you can find me on social media. Pretty soon you'll be able to find me at arlowallace.com.
Absolutely beautiful.
That'll be my main hub where you can find me.
Mhm.
Right now you can follow me on my socials. Instagram, Arlo Wallace with three E's, no spaces.
Absolutely. There you go. Now, that's what I call a successful plugin. There you go. Now you're getting it. You're getting it. Don't worry.
Okay.
The more you do this, the more plugins will become kind of second nature to you. But yeah, thank you very much for this interview. It's just a very exciting and a very fun journey for me to witness, to be a part of your developing career and music, just your music growth as a whole. So check her out.
Awesome.
Subscribe to me, maybe. I don't. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
you totally
All right.
should.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll end it
Thanks for
there. All
having
right,
me.
just a little preview. Can we sneak preview one of your songs, just to end this whole video?
Yikes.
We will have something for you guys to listen to. All right, see you guys.
Absolutely.
All right, bye bye.
Just like you to lose your own sunscreen.